A year after the Protostar crew's aversion of the destruction of Starfleet, Admiral Janeway recruits Dal, Rock-Tac, Jane Compog, Murph, and Zero to join her aboard the newest incarnation of USS Voyager. At first excited, the recruits are disillusioned because as cadets they're not allowed to work alongside Janeway and are snubbed by Nova Squadron, an elite Starfleet fighter pilot squad led by a young Vulcan named Magel. After some unauthorized spying, the cadets discover that Janeway is mounting a secret rescue mission to find Chakotay with a cloak-enabled ship called the Infinity. Janeway swears the cadets to secrecy, but Magel overhears Dal discussing this and tries to stop the cadets from moving the Infinity. During the melee, the craft is accidentally activated and sent into the wormhole prematurely. Meanwhile, Gwyn's attempts to win the trust of the present-day Solemn fail as she discovers that Essentia has manipulated the leaders into believing that Gwyn is a threat, prompting them to order her capture. Gwyn escapes and reunites with Ilthuran, the Diviner's younger and corrupted self. With Ilthuran's support, Gwyn challenges Essentia to a duel. Dal, Jancom, Zero, and Magel are captured by the Diviner's men and find themselves in the same holding cell with Captain Chakotay and his first officer. In spite of his best efforts to not disrupt the original timeline, which could result in Gwyn never being born, Dal ends up dropping a phaser, which Chakotay uses to get into the Protostar to escape, causing Gwyn to physically phase in and out. Dal, Zero, Jancom, and Magel receive a strange message, read and save Gwyn. Dal, Zero, and Magel find Gwyn, who's phasing in and out and in great agony. The group deduced that Gwyn had been displaced by time due to their actions disrupting the original timeline. Zero suggests they build a time machine, and Dal gets a hands-on lesson in temporal mechanics as they convert the Infinity into a time machine. Ilthuran finds Gwyn and comforts her. While phasing in and out of time, Gwyn hears a voice from beyond saying, "You must stay together." Dal's group manages to find Gwyn and bring her back to USS Voyager, where the Doctor places an interphase armband to keep her stable in the present timeline. Meanwhile, Murph is shown communicating with a stranger. Gwyn puzzles over the voice she heard in her vision and blames herself for not preventing the civil war on Solemn. Murph creates a mural that appears exactly like the spiral Gwyn saw in her vision. The group tries to understand Murph's continual incoherent babbling by converting the universal translator, which fails humorously. After several attempts, they turn to Rock for help. Rock is reluctant but is persuaded by Jillian the humpback whale in Station Ops. Working with Rock, Murph dives in the water and sprouts a tail and fins, which enable him to swim. Jillian translates "find me" and a set of coordinates from Murph's words. Gwyn experiences another phase-in attack, which finds her floating in space and seeing a spiral and the voice from her previous vision saying, "Find me before they find you." The vision is followed by clinking screeches before Gwyn is pulled back to the prime reality. Gwyn tells the others of her vision and discoveries. Dal and his friends create holograms of themselves to take their places while they attempt to take the Infinity. Trouble ensues because their holograms are programmed to believe they are real. Rock and her hologram decide to work together rather than against each other to find a solution. Dal and friends manage to board Infinity, and known to them, their holograms have switched personalities due to a glitch. The Protostar crew take the Infinity through a Borg conduit, which transports them to an uncharted planet inhabited by a Kazon. The Kazon has Dal, Rock, Gwyn, and Jancom captured, while Zero and Murph stay behind. Dal, Jancom, and Gwyn Rock are pitted against each other in a rigged and dangerous rat race around the planet's core. Dal saves Gwyn and Rock, but discovers that one of the Kazon's racers is a robot. Meanwhile, the Kazon's erratic behavior leads Zero and Murph to uncover a mind control device on him, which they disable. The Kazon then reveals that the planet was a pilot training facility until the computer became sentient and went rogue, arranging pilot deaths one at a time until only he remained. The computer reveals itself to Zero and further explains its warped agenda before arresting Murph with a mind control device and capturing the others. Zero declares that they are all biological beings and reasserts faith in the others before crashing into the computer's core, causing an explosion that destroys the entity. Zero's containment suit is severely damaged, making independent movement impossible, so Zero is carried and they all continue on their way. On board Voyager, a suspicious Magel follows holographic Gwen to her quarters, where a strange entity tries to destroy the hologram, mistaking it for the real Gwen. The creature vanishes after realizing its mistake, and Magel enters the quarters to find Gwen gone. Zero makes contact with another Medusan who offers to give Zero a new body. Gwen convinces Dal to help Zero, and the group detours to Ovidia 4, where the message came from. There they discover that the resident Medusans and other non-corporeal beings have been using carbon-based matter from the planet's surroundings to create physical bodies for themselves, providing them the senses of touch, smell, and taste. Since this also will allow Zero to interact directly with other corporeal beings without harming them, Zero agrees to the transfiguration. The operation is a success, and Zero takes delight in experiencing newly given senses and participates in the Feast of Senses, a celebration and rite of passage on Ovidia 4. At first happy for their friend, Dal and Gwen learn from the Medusan leader Ion that because their bodies degenerate outside Ovidia 4, no one wants to leave and give up their senses. Dal and Gwen discover that Zero is participating in the run-in of the Nazamon, in which participants experience the sense of fear while feeding and fleeing from the Nazamon, a manta ray-like creature. Dal, Gwen, and the others manage to find Zero and tell him the truth. When Dal is snatched up in the Nazamon's gaping maw, Zero bravely jumps to Dal's rescue. Trusting the Nazamon to use its senses and their friends down below, they ride the Nazamon to safety. By the time they reach the finish line, Zero thanks Ion for the experience and ultimately decides to risk leaving Ovidia 4 with the Infinity crew, as they had risked their lives to reveal the truth. Ion respects Zero's choice and wishes them luck. Meanwhile, Janeway, the Doctor, and Commander Tysus discover the holographic imposters and hunt down Gwen's hologram, who tells them about the possible message from Chakotay. The Doctor discovers that the ship's computer log has been altered, and holographic Gwen tells of the clicking noises from the creature that tried to erase her. Fearing the worst, Janeway sets a new course to find the real Gwen before the creatures do. The Protostar crew arrive at their destination, the planetary time ziggurat headquarters of the Travelers, where they meet their mysterious benefactor, revealed to be Wesley Crusher. Wesley explains that he has found a way for the kids to repair their unraveling timeline. He also explains that the hole in time the kids created are attracting the Loom, monstrous parasitic creatures who feed on dying timelines and manipulate time to hunt their prey. Just then, the Loom arrive, causing Dal, Rock, Zero, Gencom, and Murph to freeze in time. Gwyn and Wesley, who both have temporal stabilizers, are not affected. The duo hurry to find more stabilizers for their friends, with the Loom in hot pursuit. After placing the stabilizer armbands, Gwyn, Dal, Zero, Gencom, Rock, Murph, and Wesley jump through the vault to escape the Loom. The vault sends them to a safety bunker in the style of an Earth apartment in the 60s and 70s. Meanwhile, Admiral Janeway tracks down the Infinity's warp trail, ignoring Admiral Jellicoe's orders to return home. The Voyager A arrives at the time ziggurat and aware of the danger that awaits below. While waiting out the Loom, Wesley reveals his plan to work out coordinates for the kids to find Chakotay and repair the timeline. The group also learns from Wesley that the Loom will not only kill them, but erase the fact any of them ever existed. At the same time, Janeway's Andorian First Officer Commander Tysus prepares to beam down with his landing party. Magel joins Commander Tysus, insisting her telepathic link to Zero will help the team locate the Protostar crew. Janeway agrees only after Tysus declares to protect Magel at all costs. Armed with temporal armbands provided by the Doctor, Tysus, Magel, and Ensign Middleton beam down the planet. There they are ambushed by the Loom, who kills Middleton. Tysus orders an emergency beam out back to Voyager, but Magel, determined to find Zero, removes her badge to stay behind. Back on Voyager, Tysus discovers Magel missing and reveals to Janeway what happened. Tysus is also surprised when Janeway and the Doctor don't recall Middleton and correctly deduces the Loom's ability to erase their prey from existence. Back in the time ziggurat, Magel manages to telepathically locate Zero. Magel is cornered by the Loom, but is rescued at the last minute by Dal. Magel literally falls into Zero's arms and is amazed by the Medusan's new appearance. The reunion is cut short when the Loom manage to break into the safety bunker, forcing the group to evacuate back to the surface. The loom destroys the Infinity and surrounds the group. In the nick of time, Janeway saves Wesley and the Protostar crew by firing at the creatures. The loom responds by attacking Voyager, and a battle ensues. Janeway turns the tables for everyone by boarding a shuttlecraft and setting the shuttle's weapon to the loom's phase variance, and manages to kill one of the loom, creating a diversion to the other loom. Wesley prepares to set the Protostar crew into a time portal to find Chakotay. Disregarding Wesley's warnings, Dal risks looking at his future and is disappointed to see a vision of him refusing the role of captain in front of Gwen. The group begins to panic, but Majel manages to calm them down. Magel's wisdom prompts Wesley to discover that Majel also part of the solution to correct the future. Janeway arrives and finds the kids, who are relieved to see her. Janeway is shocked to see Wesley and initially protests against Wesley sending young members of her crew across the galaxy, but relents after Dal and Gwen tell her it's the only way to save Chakotay and the timeline. The Protostar crew and Majel are sent through the portal. With his time manipulation powers, Wesley sends Janeway back to safety on board Voyager and manages to wipe out the remaining loom as they storm into the time room. Dal, Gwen, Rock, Zero, Gencom, Murph, and Majel find themselves on a sandy planet and spot a rusty Protostar and its equally weathered captain, Chakotay. The kids discover that the Protostar has been marooned on Isida for 10 years with a broken Chakotay who had ejected the ship's antimatter and protocore, leaving the Protostar running on emergency power. Hologram Janeway explains that losing his crew broke Chakotay's spirit, with the disappearance of his first officer, Adric, being the final straw. The crew begins attempting to help Chakotay to no avail until Dal goes missing during a storm, causing Chakotay to spring into action to find him. After evading giant eels, the crew discovers that Dal has found Adric's body along with the antimatter that Adric had collected to repower the ship. With his spirit restored, Chakotay finally agrees to launch the Protostar and help fix the paradox. Chakotay reveals that the ship needs deuterium from a maelstrom on the other side of the vapor ocean before they can restore power, so the crew transforms the spaceship into a makeshift sailing vessel. While crossing the ocean, Dal clashes with Chakotay before admitting that he is questioning his purpose after seeing his future in Wesley's machine. Chakotay offers Dal some advice based on his own experiences, and Dal later saves Chakotay's life after he falls into the ocean. Despite some difficulties, the crew successfully collects the deuterium, restoring power to the ship's impulse engines and warp drive, allowing the Protostar to leave Isida. However, Voyager is 3,000 light-years away, meaning that they will need to build a new protocore before the two ships can rendezvous. The crew hunts for Bosenite on a planet overrun by genetically modified giant tribbles. Zero breaks their leg and learns that their body is breaking down and won't last much longer. Rock works with the Klingon scientist who accidentally created the creatures to successfully reverse the change, but Rock inadvertently creates a Bribble hybrid in the process, whom she adopts as a pet. With the Posonite, the crew manages to create a new protocore and sets course for Voyager 3,000 light-years away. The Protostar successfully proto-jumps to Voyager's position, only to arrive in an alternate reality where Janeway and Noom died trying to rescue Chakotay, and then in one where the Federation was destroyed by the living construct. The crew discovers that their jump has torn the weakened fabric of the universe and splintered Voyager into a number of different realities, which also has a negative effect on Gwen, while Rock and Zero get trapped on a Voyager commanded by Tuvix. The others, aside from Majel, who is accidentally left behind, land in the mirror universe where they face off with Janeway and Chakotay's evil counterparts. With the loom threatening her universe, Mirror Janeway reluctantly allows them to use her ship to emit a pulse that closes the rift. Arriving on the correct Voyager, Chakotay is finally reunited with Janeway. After returning to Voyager, Zero learns from the Doctor that there is nothing that can be done for their failing corporeal body. However, the Doctor suggests upgrading Zero's new containment suit with sensory inputs so that they can continue to feel, a task that Zero asks Gencom to do. Jellicoe orders both ships back to Earth, where Voyager's crew will be reassigned, the cadets re-evaluated, and the Protostar mission taken over by the Department of Temporal Investigations. Ilthoran contacts Gwen to reveal that Essentia has taken over Solem, armed with mysterious new temporal weaponry. Essentia sends the Rev-1 to destroy Voyager and the Protostar, while the others return to the Protostar. Dal flies with Nova Squadron into battle, and Zero remains behind to help the Doctor. Following a failed attack on the enemy ship, Voyager is left defenseless. As the battle continues, the Rev-1 disables the protostar and hits Voyager with a temporal weapon called the Incursor, which threatens to age the ship to dust. Zero sacrifices their failing body to retarget the Incursor onto Magel's fighter, allowing Nova Squadron to lure it into destroying the Rev-1 using the Booth B supernova. In the aftermath, Zero introduces their friends to the new containment suit that GenCom built for them, and Janeway announces that Starfleet Command has ordered Voyager and the protostar to Solem. Essentia is revealed to be holding Wesley Crusher captive, having stolen her temporal technology from his mind. Essentia tells Wesley that the battle proves that Starfleet is spread too thin to be ready for what comes next. With the Federation and the Vaunacat on the brink of war, Gwyn proposes sending the protostar crew, who are not Starfleet personnel and thus are less likely to escalate the situation, behind enemy lines to rescue her father and find the source of Essentia's new weaponry. Joined by Magel, who chooses to resign from Nova Squadron, the team learns from the younger version of Essentia, who has sided with the rebellion against her older self, that Wesley Crusher is the source of Essentia's weaponry, and Gwyn has them split up to rescue both. Alarmed, Wesley reveals that they have altered the course of events because Ilthuran was never meant to be rescued and would have escaped to overthrow Essentia. Wesley had purposefully allowed himself to get caught so as to manipulate Essentia into building the technology that they need to fix the paradox. Cornered, Dale beams Wesley and Ilthuran to Voyager, removing them from Essentia's clutches. Wesley warns Janeway that they're all in danger and he doesn't know what happens next. The Doctor treats Wesley's injuries, but his traveler powers are put out of commission for the time being, leaving Wesley struggling to adapt before Janeway reminds him that he was a great Starfleet officer first. Janeway, Chakotay, the Doctor, and Wesley launch a daring rescue for the protostar crew as Essentia tries to feed them to a captured loom. The rescue is successful, liberating both the crew and the creature. Ilthuran urges his people to rise up against Essentia's tyranny, and Solem descends into civil war. Having been reminded that boldness isn't only for the young, Janeway agrees to help save Solem from Essentia, despite intervening in the Civil War violating the Prime Directive. With the Vaunacat in open rebellion against her, Essentia begins to launch a fleet of ships equipped with temporal weaponry at every major Federation base. Voyager and the protostar attack the fleet to buy time as Wesley, Rock, Zero, and Magel figure out the calculations to open the wormhole to Tars Lamora, and Dal, Gwyn, GenCom, Murph, and Ilthuran beam to Solem to hijack Essentia's technology. Gwyn battles Essentia, ultimately defeating her after the other Vaunacats lend Gwyn their strength. Murph destroys Essentia's dreadnought, allowing Dal and GenCom to open the wormhole, which collapses the open rifts onto Essentia's ships, destroying them and saving the Federation. However, the Loom swarm out of the wormhole to consume reality. With time running out, the crew launches the protostar into the wormhole, guarded by Voyager. The launch proves successful, and before beaming out, Chakotay has the Doctor copy hologram Janeway onto an EMH backup module. The protostar lands on Tars Lamora in the past, where it's eventually found by Dal and Rock, resolving the paradox and causing the Loom to return to their own dimension. With the danger over and the future where Solem is destroyed in Civil War changed, Janeway leads official first contact between the Federation and the Vaunacat before deciding to go into early retirement, leaving Chakotay as the new captain of Voyager. Wesley privately tells Dal that the important role the crew is to play in the galaxy's future is yet to come, and visits his mother meeting his little brother Jack for the very first time. The kids finally get into Starfleet Academy, only to have the attack on Mars drastically change things. Returning to Starfleet in the wake of the attack, Janeway has the new Protostar-class vessel, the USS Prodigy, turned into a training ship and gives it to the former Protostar crew, along with field commissions, to the rank of ensign. Accepting that Gwyn is the rightful captain and recalling some advice that Chakotay had given him, Dal chooses to serve as her first officer instead, while hologram Janeway is upgraded to become the Prodigy's emergency command hologram.